Joining me now is Jerry Ashton. He is the co-founder of RIP Medical Debt. That's a fascinating group. We've talked to them before, but they have very important updates that we want to share with you now after the election. So, Jerry, welcome back to Rebel headquarters.
I'm happy to be here, Cenk.
Okay, so before I get into what RIP Medical Debt is for those folks that did not see the earlier interview and your update, which is a very important one, I actually want to talk a little bit about medical GoFundMe pages, because it is the numbers there are fairly startling. What percentage of GoFundMe pages are for medical debt, and how much do they raise every year?
I'll take a look at 1 out of 3 pages. Every third page is somebody begging someone to help them pay some medical bills. That's one pretty good example. They've raised about $5 billion in such donations over the last 8 years. And when you think about that, that's 50 million donations. 50 million people stepped up to help others because of this broken healthcare system that we're experiencing right now.
Now that's amazing. That's about $650 million annually, where people say, "Oh, okay, my neighbor is going to die. Someone I don't know, but I saw online is going to die. So I need to give them money to save their life because the government is going to let them die." We have decided as a society that we're going to be so vicious that unless they can somehow raise money from charity online, from the kindness of others, we're going to let them die. That's unbelievable. And then
in a civilized society, one would call that unbelievable. In fact, it is unbelievable. But I also want to, I make my caveat here. As you know, I'm the executive director for the RIP Medical Debt charity. And as a charity, we are apolitical, obviously. And at the same time, we're not blind, deaf, and dumb. And we know that we're only sweeping up after the parade. What we're tired of course, is a parade that leaves so many people in its wake. So what we did, Cenk, you helped announce our last book, which was The Patient, the Doctor, and the Bill Collector. But here's a new one for you. And medical debt.
Yep.
And that's the 3 of us who put that together. The 3 authors are also the people who founded RIP Medical Debt, but we're as different as 3 people as you could hope to find. You'll find them to the left, you'll find us to the right, you'll find us somewhat in the center. But we all agree about one thing. This is a wrong that has to be righted.
So now let's talk about how you guys are trying to right it. So what is the thesis behind your organization?
Behind the organization is that our intention is to take donors' money and go out to the debt market. We use that money to buy unpaid and unpayable medical debt for about a penny on the dollar. And when we get it in our control, when we own it, what we do is forgive it. So our function is to forgive medical debt. We're the only organization in the United States that does that nationally. And the important thing for anybody out there to realize is that we can't do it yet for individuals. We're working on doing that for individuals, but right now, when we buy debt, we buy it in bulk, millions of dollars at a time. In fact, to give you an idea, from a political point of view of how important it is to do this, we had one anonymous couple donate over $2 million to us just prior to the midterms. And the reason they did that is because they wanted to abolish $250 million worth of medical debt across the United States to make a statement that this was wrong, and they wanted to bring attention to it. So we're, in a way, as a charity, we don't have a political voice per se, but people use us in order to make those statements.
I'm not saying that the anonymous couple gave after you guys appeared on the Young Turks. I'm just saying, no, I'm kidding. Okay, no.
You think?
Oh, I wish I had the money to do that. That would be amazing. And in all seriousness, though, think about the wonderful generosity of people like that are willing to give $2 million to liberate so many people from the medical debt that they had. By the way, I didn't even think about it until now, but actually, It's in a sense personal to me because my grandfather died when my dad was just a couple months old and left the family with a lot of medical debt because they were trying to save his life. He was just 37 years old at the time. And it pulverized our family's finances. And if my dad and uncle weren't so incredibly hardworking and didn't get into college and rescue the family, we would have been devastated by that. And I'd still be
what people have to do to make up for a system that puts them behind the 8 ball to start with is unbelievable. 15 million people will go bankrupt every year. They'll pay out their life savings every year because of debt that shouldn't be there to begin with. My personal opinion, of course, and I'm sure you share it.
Yes. So if people are confused, I want to make sure that they understand this. How does giving $2 million get rid of $250 million in debt?
Well, it takes a couple of, shall we say, anti-collection agency specialists to do that. Craig Antico and I grew up in the debt collection industry. We know it inside and out. And we had a decision we made one day that instead of chasing after money, we decided to give it away. We wanted to get rid of that debt. So we can do it. We can go to a debt market and for a penny on the dollar or less, buy that debt. $1, $100. That quarter billion dollars worth of medical debt, which was thousands and thousands of American families coast to coast, including $50 million of the debt taken off the backs of veterans, all for pennies. We're probably the best bang for the buck. And when we did our book, End Medical Debt, the idea is you don't have to be a victim. There are ways of being able to deal with the system. I'm so pleased about the incoming people to the House. I think every one of them should have a copy of this on their desk when they show up.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they pass Medicare for all so we don't have to do this. And that would be a much more humane and rational way to go about it. But for the moment being, unfortunately, it is necessary. And again, if you're wondering why the $1 turns into $100, because a lot of people mark down debt they think is not collectible. And they're not wrong about that. It has bankrupted those families, but it still hangs over the families' heads for the rest of time until somebody like RIP Medical Debt comes in and buys the debt for a tiny amount of money because they think that no one can collect on it and then pays it off. So they get a notice saying, you're free, no more debt.
Yeah, not only do we free them of that particular medical bill, but we also take it off their credit report. And that's, of course, one bad mark. There are millions of people that have only one bad mark on their credit report, and it's from a hospital or a physician. And that will drop their score anywhere from 30 to 70 points. And it just drives me crazy when I think of something like that. Now, 2 New Yorkers, give you an idea, 2 ladies up in the Finger Lakes area decided that they wanted to raise funds to use RIP medical debt to buy and abolish about $1.5 million worth of medical debt because they wanted to draw attention to what we call in New York as the New York Health Act, which is basically Medicare for all. That one act of theirs picked up a New York Times article, which went across the country and resulted in something like over $200,000 coming into RIP medical debt to help us abolish another $20-30 million. So it's amazing what a penny can do from here and from there.
And one more story about that. The nurses in Michigan wound up helping you guys retire some debt, right? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, they called those the Santa Clauses, the mystery Santa Clauses, the nurses in Michigan and also the nurses in Minnesota, which, by the way, had to go out on strike because the hospital wanted to take away some of their health benefits. Now, that's brilliant. So when they went on strike and they wanted to thank the people of Minnesota and, of course, people in Michigan for supporting nurses, for supporting unions, well, what better way for a nurse than to have the medical debt that their hospital put on the backs of somebody wiped out because they made a donation? So that was just delicious.
So their donation led to canceling of $8.9 million in debt in Michigan alone.
Yes.
And I just can't get enough of the nurses coming in to heal America.
Yeah.
And they've done it time and time again.
Time again.
Yes.
Yep.
All right. I want everybody to know that the website is ripmedicaldebt.org. ripmedicaldebt.org. Jerry Ashton, co-founder, thank you so much for joining us and for liberating all those people. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Cenk, and thank you so much for the exposure.
Yeah, no problem.
Appreciate it.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Like what you see? I hope so, thank you. So click the subscribe button below and don't forget to ring the bell to never miss another video from Rebel HQ.